At the heart of the dying sun. The sun was no longer the bright, golden star humanity had known for millions of years. Its once warm glow had shifted into a deeper, angrier shade of red. It pulsed like a giant, tired heart losing its rhythm. Mountains shuddered, oceans boiled at their edges, and the skies glowed with strange colors that had never been seen before. In the observatory at the edge of New Cairo, people gathered every morning to watch the sun's condition. It had become a ritual. The scientists explained that the star was entering its final stages, but people still came, still watched, still hoped. They stood behind thick glass panels, holding their breath as if the star might hear them. Amira Haleem stood among them. She had grown up with stories of a bright sun, a sun that warmed the world gently. Now she was part of the mission that would go directly into the star itself, the most dangerous mission in human history. The project was called Heartfire, and Amira was one of the few who truly believed they could still save humanity. The Heartfire briefing room was silent when Commander Rylan entered. He was tall, calm, and steady, the kind of leader who rarely needed to raise his voice. Behind him, screens displayed rotating holograms of the dying sun. Bright flares erupted across the surface like violent storms. Rylan looked around the room. Everyone here understands the situation. The sun has less than 40 years before collapse. But according to the new readings, we may have even less time. A murmur moved through the team. Amira felt her chest tighten. Less time meant fewer chances to find another home. Fewer chances to save anyone. Rylan continued, the Heartfire core, the device we will deliver into the sun, can delay its collapse for at least 3 centuries. Enough time to build evacuation fleets, enough time for the younger generation to survive. Dr. Soren, the oldest scientist on the team, cleared his throat. Or, he said softly, it may do nothing at all. No one spoke after that. Rylan nodded once. That is why we go. Because uncertainty is our only enemy. And time is the battle we are already losing. He stepped aside, revealing an image of a sleek, spear-shaped vessel. This is the Helios 9, the only ship capable of entering the sun's outer layer and transmitting the Heartfire core into its heart. Amira stared at the image. She had trained for years for this, but nothing compared to the reality of seeing the ship they would take into the inferno. Rylan's voice softened. We leave in 3 days. The next morning, Amira walked through the launch hangar where Helios 9 waited. The ship glowed with metallic orange plates, built from materials mined from dead stars. Its hull shimmered under the lights, as if absorbing everything around it. She found her crew preparing equipment. Kai Ren, the engineer, waved from beneath a pile of cooling cables. You finally woke up, Star Dreamer. Amira smiled. Kai had been her closest friend since training. He made jokes even in the darkest situations. Next to him, Dr. Lyra Solana, the ship's medic, checked medical drones floating gently around her. She always moved quietly, like she was listening to something others could not hear. On the other side of the ship stood Captain Rylan and Navigator Elias Thorne, studying star maps projected in MIDI. Elias was young but brilliant, a man who could predict gravitational distortions with almost frightening accuracy. He looked over his shoulder. We've mapped possible entry angles into the star's outer layers, he said. But there's turbulence. Much worse than expected. Rylan nodded. I know. We adapt as we go. Amira approached them. Sir, what about the internal shielding system? Will it hold? Rylan's face stayed steady, but she sensed the truth anyway. No system ever holds forever, he said. But it only needs to hold long enough. Before launch, the crew was granted one final day to visit the surface. A day to say goodbye, if goodbye still meant anything when the whole world was preparing for extinction. Amira walked through the crowded streets of New Cairo. People sold water tablets, sun shields, and home cooling kits. Children played under artificial shade domes. The world had adapted to the red glare, but it hadn't adapted to fear. Her mother sat outside their small home, weaving cooling strips from silver cloth. She smiled when she saw Amira. So, they are sending you into the sun itself. Amira knelt beside her. It's our best chance. Maybe our only one. Her mother touched her face gently. My brave child, she whispered. I would rather the sun take me than fear take you. Amira hugged her tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of desert herbs and home. That night, she stayed awake watching the dark sky. Stars shimmered faintly around the huge red sun. She whispered into the warm air. I will come back. I promise. But even she did not fully believe it. The launch platform shook as the energy coils powered up. Engineers shouted instructions from every direction. Mechs moved heavy shielding plates. Cooling systems hissed as the temperature around the ship climbed to dangerous levels. Commander Ryland stood before the crew. This is not a mission of glory. It is not a mission of victory. It is a mission of necessity. Humanity will look to the sky for centuries and remember that you dared to face the sun itself. He paused. Alios 9, prepare for boarding. The crew entered the ship in silence. Inside, everything hummed with energy. Seats wrapped around pods filled with liquid shielding. Navigation screens flickered with warning signs. The ship already felt alive. Amira strapped into her seat. She felt her heart race as the countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Kai whispered, "If we die, I'm haunting you." Amira managed a grin. "If we die, you won't have time to haunt anyone." 3, 2, 1. The engines roared. The world dropped away beneath them. And Alios 9 ascended toward the dying sun. The sun filled the entire front viewport like a colossal burning world. Even from millions of kilometers away, its surface churned with giant arcs of fire that erupted and curled like angry serpents. The closer Alios 9 came, the more the ship trembled, as if the star itself were warning them to turn back. Inside, alarms blinked softly. The temperature outside had already exceeded levels where normal metals would have melted instantly. Only the newly developed star-forged alloys kept the hull intact. Captain Ryland sat forward in his command seat. "Elias, trajectory." Elias's eyes flicked over floating charts. "Adjusting angle by 3 degrees. The solar winds are unstable. If we enter too fast, we'll lose control." Kai muttered, "We'll lose control anyway at this rate." Amira watched the swirling currents on the screen. She felt strangely calm. This was the moment she had trained for. Years of simulations, heat chamber practice, and emergency drills. None of it matched the real thing. The sun glared brighter, and the shields flickered. Ryland spoke firmly. "Amira, activate the outer stabilizers." "On it." She touched the controls. A low vibration ran through the ship as layered magnetic fields wrapped around the hull, forming multiple protective rings. For a moment, everything steadied. Then a sharp solar flare exploded across the star's surface. The entire ship jolted violently. Lyra grabbed her seat. That one was close. Elias shouted, "We need to enter the corona now. If another flare hits." Ryland nodded. "Do it." Alios 9 angled downward, diving into the sun's outermost ring of fire. The corona was a storm of violent plasma waves and magnetic chaos. The ship shook so hard Amira feared it would tear itself apart. Bright streaks of burning particles slammed against the shields like meteors. Kai's hands moved rapidly over control panels. Power demands rising. Shields dropping to 86%, 84, 83. Divert auxiliary power. Amira said. "I already did. The star is eating energy faster than we can feed the system." The heat outside reached unimaginable levels. The hull glowed a deep orange. The temperature warnings flashed red on every screen. Ryland remained steady even as the ship bucked. "Hold trajectory. Elias, find us a smoother flow." "I'm trying. There's no smooth flow, Captain. But I see a pocket of lower turbulence ahead. If we reach it, then take us there." Alios 9 lurched hard to the left. The crew felt the gravity shifts twist around them. For a few seconds Amira couldn't breathe. The air tasted sharp and metallic. And then, suddenly, the shaking lessened. They had entered the calm pocket. A small bubble of relative stability within the furious firestorm. Amira exhaled a long, shaky breath. "Is this really happening?" Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. "You'd better believe it. We're flying inside a star." No one laughed. The corona was a storm of violent plasma waves and magnetic chaos. The ship shook so hard Amira feared it would tear itself apart. Bright streaks of burning particles slammed against the shields like meteors. Kai's hands moved rapidly over control panels. Power demands rising. Shields dropping to 86%, 84, 83. Divert auxiliary power. Amira said. "I already did. The star is eating energy faster than we can feed the system." The heat outside reached unimaginable levels. The hull glowed a deep orange. The temperature warnings flashed red on every screen. Ryland remained steady even as the ship bucked. Hold trajectory. Elias, find us a smoother flow. I'm trying, there is no smooth flow, Captain. But I see a pocket of lower turbulence ahead. If we reach it, then take us there. Alio's 9 lurched hard to the left. The crew felt the gravity shifts twist around them. For a few seconds Amira couldn't breathe. The air tasted sharp and metallic. And then, suddenly, the shaking lessened. They had entered the calm pocket. A small bubble of relative stability within the furious firestorm. Amira exhaled a long, shaky breath. Is this really happening? Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. You'd better believe it. We're flying inside a star. No one laughed. The corona was a storm of violent plasma waves and magnetic chaos. The ship shook so hard Amira feared it would tear itself apart. Bright streaks of burning particles slammed against the shields like meteors. Kai's hands moved rapidly over control panels. Power demands rising. Shields dropping to 86%, 84, 83. Divert auxiliary power. Amira said. I already did. The star is eating energy faster than we can feed the system. The heat outside reached unimaginable levels. The hull glowed a deep orange. The temperature warnings flashed red on every screen. Rylan remained steady even as the ship bucked. Hold trajectory. Elias, find us a smoother flow. I'm trying, there is no smooth flow, Captain. But I see a pocket of lower turbulence ahead. If we reach it, then take us there. Alio's 9 lurched hard to the left. The crew felt the gravity shifts twist around them. For a few seconds Amira couldn't breathe. The air tasted sharp and metallic. And then, suddenly, the shaking lessened. They had entered the calm pocket. A small bubble of relative stability within the furious firestorm. Amira exhaled a long, shaky breath. Is this really happening? Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. You'd better believe it. We're flying inside a star. No one laughed. The corona was a storm of violent plasma waves and magnetic chaos. The ship shook so hard Amira feared it would tear itself apart. Bright streaks of burning particles slammed against the shields like meteors. Kai's hands moved rapidly over control panels. Power demands rising. Shields dropping to 86%, 84, 83. Divert auxiliary power. Amira said. I already did. The star is eating energy faster than we can feed the system. The heat outside reached unimaginable levels. The hull glowed a deep orange. The temperature warnings flashed red on every screen. Rylan remained steady even as the ship bucked. Hold trajectory. Elias, find us a smoother flow. I'm trying, there is no smooth flow, Captain. But I see a pocket of lower turbulence ahead. If we reach it, then take us there. Alio's 9 lurched hard to the left. The crew felt the gravity shifts twist around them. For a few seconds Amira couldn't breathe. The air tasted sharp and metallic. And then, suddenly, the shaking lessened. They had entered the calm pocket. A small bubble of relative stability within the furious firestorm. Amira exhaled a long, shaky breath. Is this really happening? Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. You'd better believe it. We're flying inside a star. No one laughed. Hours passed with the sun around them like a living furnace. The hull continued to glow. The ship's systems ran at maximum effort just to keep them alive. During a quieter moment, Amira stared out the side viewport. She watched fire swirl like clouds, bright rivers flowing through shifting valleys of heat. It was oddly beautiful, terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Kai approached her quietly. You okay? Amira nodded. Just thinking. About your mother. Yes. She paused. And about everyone waiting for us to succeed. Kai leaned on the railing. Funny, isn't it? We trained for this, but no one really believed we'd ever do it. Do you believe we'll succeed? She asked. Kai thought for a moment. I believe we'll try harder than anyone ever has. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what saving the world means. Amira smiled. You always make it sound simpler. That's because you make everything sound complicated. They both laughed softly, just enough to remind themselves they were still human, still alive. Even here inside the heart of fire, the deeper they traveled, the more unpredictable the star's interior became. It was like flying through a world made entirely of storms. Massive loops of burning plasma arched overhead like bridges. Magnetic whirlpools spun below them. Entire walls of fire rose suddenly, forcing Elias to make sharp turns. Rylan gripped his seat.
Keep eyes on the flows.
We cannot afford a collision. Elias's fingers danced across the controls. I see it, hold on. Alios 9 swerved sharply around a rising wave of fire.
The shields groaned.
Lyra grabbed the arms of her chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. We can't keep dodging forever, Lyra warned. The deeper we go, the stronger these storms will get. Rylan replied, which is why we reach the core quickly. Amira checked the energy readings. Shields at 71%. We need to conserve power.
Kai turned.
I can try rerouting energy from secondary thrusters.
Do it, Rylan ordered.
Every second counts.
Kai went to work.
The maze of fire shifted again, but Elias navigated it with remarkable precision. Despite the chaos around them, his calm focus never wavered. Almost through this section, he said.
Just a few more bends. A sudden blast of plasma shot upward from below.
Brace!
Rylan shouted.
The ship tilted violently, nearly flipping. Something slammed into the lower hull with a deep, metallic boom.
Amira felt her heart stop.
What was that? She asked, breathless.
Kai glanced at his monitor, eyes wide.
We just lost one of the cooling rings.
The room went silent.
Without all cooling rings, the ship wouldn't last long. Rylan stood. Repair drones, deploy. Kai, Amira, you're on external control support. Both nodded immediately. Alios 9 continued forward, but time was running out. Repair drones swarmed out of the ship like silver insects, moving along the glowing hull. Amira synchronized with Kai through the external control system. Kai spoke through gritted teeth. Come on, drones, don't melt before you reach the break.
Amira wiped sweat from her brow.
We can't lose that ring entirely.
On the screen, the drones reached the damaged area. Parts of the hull still burned bright where the plasma blast hit. Lyra monitored the internal temperatures.
They are rising faster than expected. If the ring cannot be restored.
It will be restored, Amira insisted.
Kai adjusted the controls. Drones applying patch seal, reinforcing. A sudden burst of heat flashed across the hull.
3 drones disintegrated instantly. Amira gasped.
We lost them.
Kai slammed a fist on the console.
This star is getting angrier the deeper we go.
Rylan stepped closer.
What's the status? Kai answered, cooling ring partially restored, but stability is weak. It will not survive another major hit. Rylan nodded once, accepting the risk. Then we move even faster.
Amira swallowed hard.
They were inside a dying sun, and the sun was fighting back. But the mission wasn't optional. It was life or extinction. Hours blurred into one another as Alios 9 descended deeper into the sun. The light outside the viewport had turned into a solid, blinding white, and the air inside the ship vibrated as if the star's pulse had become physical.
Amira stared at the sensors.
We're approaching the tachyon layer, she said. It's unpredictable. Nothing moves like this outside simulations.
Elias nodded. I've never seen plasma behave this way.
Gravity fluctuations are extreme. Keep your hands steady. The ship's hull glowed orange-white. Every second, it seemed to absorb more energy than it could handle. Shields flickered dangerously, warning sirens shrieked. Rylan remained calm, his eyes locked on the forward path.
Focus on the mission.
We are here to deliver the Heartfire core. Nothing else matters right now. Amira took a deep breath and touched the controls. All systems holding, just barely.
The sun's heart was alive.
Not fire, not plasma, but a rhythm, a pulse that echoed in the ship's hull. Alios 9 seemed to respond to it, vibrating with a strange resonance. It was as if the star itself was aware of them. Suddenly, a massive pulse erupted outward, shaking the ship violently.
Alarms blared. The hull panels rattled.
Kai shouted, the core. The vibrations are going to tear it apart. Amira grabbed the interface. Stabilizing the containment field, now. The ship groaned, twisting and shuddering. Outside, the plasma danced in waves taller than mountains. Inside, the crew clung to every strap and console.
Minutes passed. Each one felt like hours.
Finally, the pulse faded.
Lyra let out a shaky breath.
We survived it, barely. Rylan didn't move.
His face was set in stone. Stay focused.
This is only the beginning. The white heat outside seemed to darken, forming shapes. Shadows appeared, moving against the star's core like living creatures. At first, Amira thought it was a trick of light, but the sensors confirmed anomalies. Something was inside the sun, something not entirely natural. Elias leaned forward. "I'm reading patterns. They're intelligent. Some sort of energy formations."
Kai scowled.
"Energy formations? Are you telling me the sun is alive?"
Amira didn't answer.
She stared at the shapes. They twisted and coiled, sometimes spreading like a net, sometimes collapsing in sudden bursts. It was beautiful, terrifying, and alien. Ryland's voice cut through the tension. "Whatever they are, they won't stop us. Maintain focus on the core delivery." But the shapes seemed to watch them. The star was no longer just a ball of fire, it was a living, thinking thing. And they were intruders. A warning siren shrieked as the hull integrity dropped below 50%.
A new burst of plasma struck the left flank. Sparks flew inside the cabin. Lyra grabbed Amira.
"We need to stabilize or we all die."
Kai swore, working frantically. "Auxiliary shields at 10%. We can't take another hit like this."
Ryland's hand hovered over the emergency eject system. "If we lose the ship now, the core fails. Humanity fails." A final blast struck, bigger than anything before.
The hull cracked.
Fire seeped into one of the compartments.
One of the smaller life pods collapsed.
Kai barely made it to a console, pulling emergency power. The ship stabilized, but at a terrible cost.
They had lost part of the internal support system.
Every repair attempt now would take longer, and every second increased the risk of total failure.
Amira looked around at the crew. They were alive, but shaken.
"Is everyone okay?" she whispered. They nodded, though their faces told the truth. They were closer to death than they had ever been.
Ryland's voice was steady. "Then we move forward. We have no other choice."
Finally, after what felt like endless layers of burning storms, turbulence, and living shadows, the core of the sun came into view. It was smaller than expected, a dense, swirling sphere of molten energy, brighter than the brightest diamond, with tendrils of plasma curling around it. Elias adjusted the ship's trajectory.
"This is it.
The calmest zone before direct insertion."
Amira's hands shook as she touched the controls.
"All systems are green. We're ready." Kai glanced nervously at the core. "If this thing reacts, we could be vaporized instantly."
Ryland's gaze never wavered. "Then we do it fast."
"Amira, initiate core delivery sequence." Amira's fingers moved over the holographic interface. The Heartfire core, a glowing orb of alien technology, hummed in containment. It had to be placed precisely within the sun's heart. The ship hovered above the core, the heat pressing through the shields, the shadows watching, the pulse growing louder, almost sentient. Amira whispered, "Here goes everything." She activated the release mechanism. The core detached from its containment module and floated toward the center.
Sensors went wild as it entered the sun's energy field. Helios 9 shook violently.
Lights flickered. The pulse of the star grew in intensity, almost as if it were angry.
Then, the core latched.
A brilliant flare erupted, blinding even the crew's eyes through their shields.
Energy waves rippled outward. The star trembled. And then, silence.
For a few seconds, nothing moved. Helios 9 floated in the calm, as if the sun itself were holding its breath.
Amira exhaled.
"It's stable."
Elias's hands were shaking.
We did it." Ryland nodded, though his face was still serious.
"It's only the first step."
"We've reached the heart, but the sun is far from calm. Extraction will be harder than insertion."
Kai wiped sweat from his forehead.
"Harder than anything we've faced. This place wants us dead." Amira stared out at the heart of the star. For the first time, she saw not destruction, but something alive.
Something aware.
Something that could change the fate of humanity, or end it. And she realized that leaving the sun alive was now as dangerous as entering it. The moment after the Heartfire core latched onto the sun, the calm lasted only a heartbeat.
Then the star reacted.
Massive shockwaves rippled outward from its heart, shaking Helios 9 violently. Alarms screamed, systems flickered, and the glowing hull strained under the force. Amira gritted her teeth. "The sun, it's alive, and it doesn't like what we've done." Elias clutched the navigation console. Trajectory readings, unstable. The core insertion triggered some kind of resonance. "We need to move, Now.
Rylan barked orders.
Engage full reverse thrusters.
Kai, divert every joule of power to shields.
Lyra, prepare for emergency decompression protocols. Outside, the once beautiful white core of the sun shimmered with dark veins, twisting and writhing like living tendrils. Shadows surged around the Helios 9, forming shapes that moved with purpose. They weren't random energy patterns, they were sentient, and they wanted the intruders gone. The ship was tossed like a leaf in a hurricane. Alarms blared as external temperature readings climbed beyond warning levels.
Kai's hands flew across his console.
Shields at 4 to 5%. If we take another hit, we're done.
Amira's pulse raced. Adjust stabilizers.
Compensate for gravitational eddies.
Elias called out,
there's a channel through the plasma turbulence. But it's narrow, less than 2 degrees wide.
Rylan's face was set.
Then we go through it.
No other choice.
Helios 9 darted into the narrow channel. The walls of the plasma storm brushed against the hull, scraping sparks and heat off its surface. Shadows lunged at them, dark waves of energy coiling like serpents. Amira guided the ship with precision, her hands flying over the interface. Lyra shouted, hull integrity at 29%. We won't survive another strike. Kai gritted his teeth. Then don't let us get hit again. Time slowed as they weaved through the plasma labyrinth. Outside, the sun pulsed with anger, brighter, hotter, alive in ways that defied human understanding. Every movement was a gamble, every second a battle between life and total annihilation. Suddenly, a massive plasma surge struck the lower hull.
The ship twisted violently.
Sparks flew everywhere, panels exploded, and a part of the shield system failed completely.
Lyra was thrown against her seat restraints. Amira barely kept control.
Status.
Kai's voice trembled.
Left thruster compromised. We're losing maneuverability. Rylan didn't flinch.
We can't stop.
We have to keep moving. Elias struggled with navigation. If we can just reach that stable pocket up ahead, we might survive. The ship lurched again. Another panel tore loose, smashing into the cockpit.
Kai cried out as the debris narrowly missed him.
The heat sensors screamed that the hull temperature was climbing at an alarming rate.
And then, silence.
For a split second, the only sound was the pulsing heartbeat of the sun. During the brief lull, the crew looked at one another. Exhaustion, fear, and wonder filled the cabin.
Amira's hands shook from strain and adrenaline. She realized she had been holding her breath for what felt like hours. Kai finally spoke.
We're alive, somehow. Lyra gave a weak smile. Barely. Elias whispered, it's like staring into a god, a living, furious god.
Rylan nodded quietly. And it wants us gone.
But we are humanity.
We don't leave without a fight.
Amira touched the containment unit holding the Heartfire core. The orb glowed softly, almost calmly, like it understood the danger they were in. It hummed with an alien energy that pulsed with the heartbeat of the sun itself.
We've reached the heart, she whispered.
But surviving it, that's another story. The calm was broken by a new wave of sentient shadows. They surged upward from the sun's core, striking the shields with concentrated force. Helios 9 rocked violently, alarms screaming louder than ever. Kai yelled, shields at 15%. We're burning through the last layer. Amira fought with the controls, trying to stabilize the ship.
We can't hold. We need to move faster.
Rylan's voice cut through.
We have no choice.
Focus on extraction, not comfort. Elias adjusted the trajectory, steering them between the shadows. The plasma storm lashed at the ship, bright arcs of energy slicing dangerously close. Panels cracked, smoke filled the cabin, and the temperature readings reached life-threatening levels.
Lyra monitored internal vitals.
We may not make it if the heat keeps rising.
Amira's pulse raced. Every second felt like eternity.
Just a little further, just a little further. The Heartfire core pulsed with light, steady and unwavering, as if lending them courage. They had almost reached the outer boundary of the sun's core. Only a few kilometers remained before Helios 9 could escape the most violent plasma zones. Suddenly, the core pulsed again, violently this time, sending massive shockwaves throughout the star. The shadows roared with energy, striking the ship from multiple directions. Helios 9 tilted sharply, and for a terrifying moment, the crew thought it might flip completely. Kai yelled, we're going to lose the main reactor. Rylan gritted his teeth. Divert everything to propulsion.
We get out now or die trying.
Amira pressed her hands against the controls, guiding the ship with every ounce of focus.
The cockpit shook violently. Panels snapped. Sparks flew.
The air felt thick, almost solid, with the energy around them. Elias shouted, "Hold. Just hold a little longer." With a final surge, Helios 9 pierced through the last barrier of plasma turbulence. The intense heat began to fade slightly.
The shadows retreated toward the heart.
For the first time since entering, the crew saw space beyond the star's corona, a distant glow of emptiness and freedom. They had survived the heart of the sun. Helios 9 floated in the outer corona, battered, smoking, and exhausted, but alive. The heart-fire core remained secure. The sun's pulse had slowed, almost contemplative. The sentient shadows retreated, their anger subsiding, perhaps recognizing the core's presence as part of something larger. Amira slumped in her seat, sweat and ash covering her face. "We made it."
Kai groaned.
"Barely." Lyra whispered, "The star, it's still alive. And it's changing." Rylan stood, voice calm but resolute.
"Good work. The hardest part is over. But the journey isn't finished.
We must return home."
Amira looked at the glowing sun.
For a brief moment, she felt awe, fear, and hope all at once. The heart-fire core had latched onto the star. Humanity's future rested on its stability. And she realized that the sun had not only tested them, it had acknowledged them. Helios 9 floated in the calmer outer corona, but the victory was fragile. The ship had suffered heavy damage from the plasma storms and sentient shadows. Panels were scorched, auxiliary systems offline, and the hull glowed faintly where it had been weakened. Amira ran her hands over the control interface. "We've survived the heart, but the ship isn't going to hold much longer if we push it too hard." Kai groaned, rubbing his temples.
"Some systems are fried. Thrusters are partially damaged. Shields are at 40%.
We can make it, but only if we're careful."
Lyra checked crew vitals. "Everyone's exhausted.
We need to rest before the next phase."
Rylan nodded.
"Briefly. We only have a limited window to escape the sun's outer layers before the next flare cycle begins. We move, we survive, we return." Amira studied the screens. The sun's energy patterns were still unstable. The shadows seemed restless but no longer directly aggressive. It was as if the star had accepted the core's presence but was still aware of their intrusion. Elias charted the return course through the corona. "There's a path, but it's longer and more dangerous than entry. Magnetic turbulence is stronger, and solar winds could tear us apart."
Rylan gave a terse nod.
"No shortcuts. Precision over speed." The ship moved slowly, every thruster firing in careful sequence.
Sparks flew as damaged panels flexed under stress.
Every movement required constant adjustment. Outside, the sun churned like a living ocean, but at least it wasn't attacking directly. Kai muttered, "I feel like this star is watching our every move."
Amira glanced at him.
"Maybe it is. Maybe it's learning from us." Lyra pressed a hand to her chest. "If it is, I hope it doesn't change its mind." Suddenly, the calm shattered. A massive solar flare erupted from the sun's surface, sending a tidal wave of plasma toward Helios 9. Alarms blared louder than ever. "Brace for impact,"
Rylan shouted. The ship rocked violently as the flare struck.
The hull shuddered under the heat and magnetic force.
Sparks flew inside the cabin.
Systems flickered, warning lights screaming their desperation. Kai and Amira worked together, rerouting energy to stabilize shields. "Shields at 20%.
Kai yelled.
"We're not holding this for long." Elias maneuvered the ship, threading it through the flare's outer edges. "We need to ride the currents, follow the plasma streams or we'll get crushed." The ship twisted, rolled, and pitched through the molten waves. Outside, the sun glowed like a living entity, every surface flickering with violent heat. Shadows coiled along the outer corona, seemingly feeding off the energy of the flare.
Amira's hands flew over the controls. "Just a little further."
"Stay with me." With a final surge of effort, Helios 9 escaped the main impact. The flare passed, leaving a blazing scar across the sun's surface. The ship shuddered in relief, battered but still functional.
Lyra exhaled shakily.
"We're still alive."
Rylan's voice was calm.
"Barely. But we are moving forward.
Focus. We're not out yet."
Hours passed as Helios 9 moved through the calmer outer layers of the sun. The air in the cabin was tense but quieter.
Systems were stabilized as much as possible.
Crew members wiped soot from their faces and drank small sips of water.
Amira finally allowed herself to look at the Heartfire core.
It glowed steadily, a calm center within the chaos of the star. Its pulse seemed to resonate with the ship, almost as if giving them strength. Elias glanced at her.
It's holding. That's remarkable.
I didn't think anything could survive the core's deployment without destabilizing the sun.
Amira nodded slowly.
It's alive, and it's helping us. At least, that's how I feel. Kai leaned back in his chair, exhausted. If this thing really stabilizes the sun, maybe humanity has a chance after all.
Ryland's eyes remained sharp.
Keep hope steady, but don't let it distract you. One mistake now, and we all die.
Amira sighed.
One step at a time, then. As the ship approached the sun's outer corona, the heat began to decrease slightly. Magnetic turbulence was still present, but it was manageable. The glowing plasma streams stretched like rivers around them, now more golden than blinding white. Shadows still moved, but cautiously, as if acknowledging the crew's progress. Kai adjusted the shields to take advantage of the calmer currents.
We can make it if we don't panic. Amira studied the patterns. The sun, it's almost calm now.
The core must be stabilizing the heart.
Lyra nodded.
We'll need every ounce of focus for the next few hours. Outer layers are easier, but a mistake here will still kill us. Elias looked at the controls, calculating. The escape trajectory is clear, but we'll have to pass through one last set of flares. Timing is everything.
Ryland leaned back slightly.
Then we wait for the right moment. Patience will save us now. The sun seemed to pulse, almost knowingly, as Helios 9 approached the outermost plasma streams. The flare cycles were unpredictable, each one a massive, dangerous test.
The crew held their breath. Amira checked every system. Shields stable. Thrusters functional.
Life support is steady.
Kai tightened his grip on the console.
Let's hope the sun plays nice this time. Suddenly, a smaller flare erupted directly along their escape path. Elias immediately calculated a maneuver. Divert left, angle 20 degrees.
Now.
Helios 9 twisted, dodging the flare by inches.
Sparks flew.
The hull groaned.
But they made it through unscathed. Ryland let out the first long breath he had in hours.
That was close, too close. Amira smiled weakly. One more hurdle, and we're free. Outside, the star's fiery glow began to recede as they reached the edge of the corona. The light became more manageable, the plasma streams thinner. The shadows disappeared into the depths of the sun, leaving the crew with the final stretch to safety. Helios 9 reached the outer edge of the sun's corona. The light shifted from blinding white to a softer, reddish-golden glow. Plasma streams now stretched far below them like rivers of molten fire. The ship had survived the core and the sun's wrath, but every panel and circuit was scorched, every system stretched to its limits. Amira leaned against the control interface, exhausted. This is it, last stretch. Kai's hands shook as he monitored the shields. If we miscalculate, even slightly, we could get pulled back into the outer layers. One wrong move. Ryland cut him off. Then we don't miscalculate.
Precision. Timing.
Focus. Elias adjusted the navigation course, plotting a path through thinning plasma streams.
There's a small gap.
We can make it, but we need to accelerate perfectly. Lyra, monitoring life support, spoke quietly. Everyone ready? One mistake, and the sun doesn't forgive.
Amira nodded. Ready.
The crew held their collective breath. The sun pulsed suddenly, as if sensing their attempt to leave.
A massive flare shot out along their path.
Helios 9 trembled violently, alarms screaming. Sparks flew from damaged panels, and heat warnings flared red. Ryland shouted, "Hold it together. Execute evasive trajectory now." Elias twisted the ship sharply, weaving between plasma streams. Kai diverted auxiliary power to shields, flames licking the hull. Amira's fingers danced over the controls, steadying the ship. Lyra whispered a silent prayer as the core hummed in containment.
The flare passed with inches to spare.
The crew exhaled in unison, hearts pounding. Helios 9 had survived the final test. Ryland's voice, calm but firm, cut through the tension. One final push. The outermost layers are ahead. After that, space. As Helios 9 moved farther from the sun, the sentient shadows disappeared.
The star no longer seemed hostile but curious.
Its pulses slowed, almost like a heartbeat returning to a calmer rhythm.
Amira looked at the Heartfire core.
Its glow was steady, powerful, and radiant. She could almost feel it communicating, a presence that bridged life and fire, human and star.
Kai shook his head in disbelief. It's like the sun recognizes us.
Or at least what we've done.
Ryland's eyes were sharp.
Recognition doesn't guarantee mercy.
Keep focused. Systems still delicate.
We're not safe until we reach real space. Elias adjusted the trajectory to pass through the outer plasma edge with minimal contact. The ship hummed and creaked under the effort, every system straining. Outside, the blazing inferno of the sun gradually faded behind them, a golden-red halo stretching across the distance. The outer corona tested them one last time. Sudden plasma bursts hit the ship, forcing minor course corrections. Shields flared and flickered, yet Helios 9 held together. Amira's hands ached as she maintained control. Just a little further, we can make it.
Kai grunted, rerouting damaged energy lines.
We're barely holding, but we are. Lyra monitored oxygen and temperature, her brow furrowed.
External temperatures are dropping.
We're escaping. Ryland leaned back slightly, relief hidden behind his stoic expression.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Don't celebrate yet.
The last surge of plasma hit them.
The ship rocked violently, hull groaning. Sparks flew, panels bent. The crew gritted their teeth, resisting panic. Elias adjusted the engines. One more adjustment. There. We're clear. Helios 9 finally emerged into the quiet of space, the sun behind them now a distant, glowing orb. The crew slumped in exhaustion, sweat and soot covering their faces.
Amira finally allowed herself to relax slightly.
We did it. We survived.
Kai wiped his brow.
I thought I was going to die in there, but somehow we made it. Lyra closed her eyes, breathing deeply.
The core, it's holding.
The sun is changing. Ryland stood, surveying the calm star from the viewport.
Humanity has a chance.
That core may stabilize the sun long enough for our species to survive.
But this mission is far from over.
We still have to return home safely. Amira touched the Heartfire core containment. It pulsed gently, steady and reassuring. She felt hope rise within her chest for the first time in days. Elias whispered softly, "It's beautiful, alive, like it's thanking us." The crew exchanged tired but victorious glances. For now, the sun's fury had been quelled, its heart changed, and humanity had survived the impossible. Ryland checked the ship's systems. We'll need to navigate carefully back to New Cairo. We're damaged, but functional. We stay together, maintain shields, and monitor the core.
Amira nodded.
Let's go home. Kai muttered under his breath. After that hell, home sounds better than ever.
Lyra smiled weakly.
Let's hope humanity appreciates the work we've done. Helios 9 turned, engines firing cautiously as the vast emptiness of space opened before them. The sun glowed behind them, still alive, still radiant, stabilized by the Heartfire core.
For the first time, Amira allowed herself to hope.
Humanity might survive the dying sun, and perhaps, one day, learn to understand it. Helios 9 drifted away from the sun, leaving behind a roaring inferno that had been both enemy and teacher. The crew was silent, each member absorbed in thought. The stars stretched endlessly before them, cold and serene compared to the blazing chaos they had just survived.
Amira finally broke the silence.
We need to assess damage and plot a direct course home. The sun may be stabilized, but we can't assume it will stay calm forever. Kai leaned over the console, checking systems.
Shields are at 40%. Hull integrity is at 60%.
Life support stable but running on backup. If we push engines too hard, we risk more failures.
Lyra rubbed her temples. We're lucky to be alive.
No, scratch that, we're incredibly lucky. Ryland looked at the crew, tired but steady.
Luck only goes so far.
Skill, coordination, and the core did the real work. Now we navigate home. The calm of deep space was a stark contrast to the sun's chaos. The crew should have felt relief, but a subtle unease lingered. The Heartfire core pulsed gently, a reminder that they were not simply survivors, they were custodians of a power that could change life itself.
Amira studied the core.
It's alive in a sense. I can feel its energy resonating with the ship. Elias, staring at star maps, murmured, "We've seen nothing like it. It's stabilizing the sun already, I think."
But what about the long term?
What if it reacts in unexpected ways?
Kai grunted.
Long-term consequences? We survived a living star. I think we'll deal with that problem later.
Ryland's voice broke through. Focus on the now. Get home alive.
That is the priority. Days passed as Helios 9 traveled away from the sun.
Sensors monitored the Heartfire core constantly.
The ship's readings confirmed what the crew had hoped. The sun's energy output was stabilizing. The pulse that had been violent and unpredictable was now steady and rhythmic.
Lyra glanced at the readings. It's calmer. The sun is stabilizing faster than expected.
The core is doing its job.
Amira smiled faintly.
We might actually have bought humanity centuries of survival. Elias frowned, still cautious. We mustn't celebrate too early. If the core fails, or if the sun reacts differently at some point, it could all collapse.
Kai shrugged, exhausted. I'll celebrate later.
Right now, I'm just glad we're alive. Ryland remained silent, scanning the distance.
Keep eyes on systems.
There are no guarantees in space. The journey back to New Cairo was slow but uneventful compared to their trip into the sun. The crew adjusted to the routine of minor repairs, system checks, and rest periods. Sleep was difficult. Adrenaline and memories of the sun lingered like a shadow over their minds. Amira sat quietly, watching stars streak past. I never imagined we would see the heart of a dying star, and survive. Not just survive, but leave it stabilized.
Kai leaned beside her. Most people won't believe it. That's okay. Some things are too big to explain.
Lyra added softly, too big to explain, and too dangerous to forget. Rylan entered, his expression unreadable.
We are on the final approach to Earth.
We must prepare for reentry and report to the authorities. Humanity will want answers.
Amira nodded.
We'll give them the truth.
Everything we saw.
Everything we did. As Helios 9 neared the solar system, Earth grew from a distant blue speck to a vibrant, spinning world. Cities, oceans, and continents came into view. The red glow of the dying sun had faded. Humanity's world looked fragile but alive.
Kai whistled softly.
We actually made it back. We survived a sun that was trying to kill us. Amira's eyes welled with tears.
And humanity has a chance. We did it.
Ryland's voice remained steady, though proud.
We completed the mission. But remember, the real work begins now.
The core must be studied, understood, and protected. Its power is immense.
Lyra looked at the glowing orb in the containment unit.
And it's saved billions already. Helios 9 touched down on the outskirts of New Cairo. Scientists, officials, and media gathered, but the crew barely noticed them at first. Their minds were still inside the sun, reliving each pulse, each flare, each moment of near death. Amira stepped out, feeling the gravity of Earth beneath her feet. She breathed deeply, savoring the air, the warmth, the ordinary life they had risked everything to protect.
Kai clapped Rylan on the back.
Next time we go on a mission, maybe just a calm orbit of Mars.
Rylan allowed the faintest smile.
We'll see. Elias looked up at the sky, remembering the shadows and the heartbeat of the sun. I can't explain what we saw, but I know it changed me.
Lyra nodded.
It changed all of us. Humanity owes the sun, and ourselves, for what we did. Amira looked at the Heartfire core, now quiet in its containment.
We've done more than survive.
We've made a difference. And maybe that's enough. The crew stood together, battered, exhausted, and alive. Humanity's future was uncertain, but for now, they had won. They had stared into the heart of a dying star and survived. The return of Helios 9 became the event of the century. News feeds, government agencies, and global space organizations all awaited the crew's arrival. For once, the world seemed united in anticipation and awe. Humanity had not just survived a dying star, they had intervened and succeeded. Amira stood at the landing platform, watching scientists rush to examine the Heartfire core. Its glow was subdued now, but it pulsed faintly, a reminder of its immense power and sentience. Kai muttered under his breath, "It's alive, and people are going to want to use it."
Ryland's gaze was firm. It is not a weapon. It's a lifeline.
We have to ensure it is respected. Elias added quietly,
and studied properly. We've seen what it can do.
We cannot let ambition corrupt it. Over the following days, the crew briefed humanity. Scientists marveled at the Heartfire core's integration with the sun. Models suggested that the sun's energy output would stabilize for centuries longer, delaying its inevitable death and giving humanity time to advance, explore, and prepare for the future. Lyra spoke during one briefing, her voice steady.
We entered the heart of a living star. We faced its fury, and we left it alive and balanced.
That balance must be protected. Amira added, the sun is not just a source of energy, it is alive, aware, and patient. We were intruders, and yet it accepted our help. Let this teach us humility.
Kai smirked faintly.
And maybe respect for the next star we visit. The crew gathered in a quiet observation room, looking at the stabilized sun through massive glass windows. The glowing orb seemed calmer than ever, steady and predictable, yet still magnificent. Amira spoke softly, almost to herself. I still remember its pulse, the heart of the dying sun. And now, it beats in harmony with us.
Rylan nodded. We did more than survive.
We made a mark on the universe, a choice that tipped fate in humanity's favor. Elias added, we glimpsed life on a scale we cannot fully understand.
And we lived to tell it.
Lyra placed a hand on the containment module. And that is a responsibility heavier than any ship or mission.
Kai simply stared, awestruck.
I never thought I'd see something like this, and live. As Earth turned beneath them, the crew realized that the Heartfire core's success had given humanity more than time, it had given hope. Scientific teams already debated new energy sources, interstellar travel, and even potential communication with other stars. Amira looked at her crew, tired but alive.
We've stared into the end and changed it. We've done what few could even imagine. And now, we go forward.
Rylan placed a hand on her shoulder. Humanity will remember this mission. And one day, maybe they'll understand just how fragile and how magnificent the universe truly is. Outside, the sun glowed gently, no longer a threat but a guardian, its pulse steady and eternal. Amira stood quietly on the observation deck, the light of the stabilized sun washing over her. She thought of the flames, the shadows, the pulse that had echoed through her very bones. She thought of the crew, humanity, and the fragile world they had returned to protect. The Heartfire core pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat in the stillness. She realized that life, survival, and courage were intertwined. Humanity's survival was not just about technology or strength, but about choices, resilience, and respect for forces far greater than themselves.
Kai leaned beside her.
You ever think about going back? Amira shook her head, smiling faintly.
No. Some hearts are meant to be visited once.
But we carry their rhythm with us. Rylan looked out at the sun, calm now, a distant beacon in the sky. We went to the heart of the dying sun, and we returned. Humanity has a chance because of it. Amira whispered, and we will remember. Always. The sun pulsed gently, steady, eternal. And the crew watched, alive and changed, knowing they had witnessed the impossible. They had stared into the heart of death and had returned to tell the story. And for the first time in centuries, humanity could look toward the future with hope.